the University of Montreal, obviously a big stepping stone for you. How did you end up at the University of Montreal? And what's your favorite part of the experience so far?
So how I ended up here was I contacted my coach pretty late on, actually during my, I think it was 2017, January 2017, while I was still at the prep school in the States. And it was really kind of a coincidence that like I said, I thought I was going to go NCAA. Turns out the recruiting gets done really early at an early on stage in life for these young kids. And to play NCAA for the next year was pretty much impossible. There was no more spots and the money was pretty tough. So I opened myself up to Canadian universities, which was the best option for me, honestly, looking back at it now. And I reached out to my coach, Isabelle, and she actually thought that I had already committed to an NCAA team because she knew that I was international and that I would catch eyes of certain coaches in the States. And as soon as I reached out to her, she was actually in shock, and we arranged a meeting on Zoom. She came to watch me play in the States, and it just all kind of clicked in, and it was like a puzzle I was just getting done gradually, and it just made sense. And I don't regret my choice one single bit, and I've just been thankful for the past 5 years. I've just developed as a player, as a person. I've kind of gotten to know myself more too, and it's just been an unbelievable experience. And I think one event that has truly, kind of marked my I would say my hockey career here has been our third place finish at Nationals at PEI when I think it was like 3 years ago, and we won bronze against the number one ranked team, and that was a huge moment for us. To just come back home with some hardware was really rewarding and fun, but there were some huge upsets that we created in terms of our league, and we have an astonishingly dominant league conference in Quebec, and 2 years ago we upset number one team Concordia to make it to Nationals instead of them, and that was a huge part of our career as well, of my career. And it was just moments like those that you share also with your favorite people and your best teammates, and that just makes it so much more important and special.
So on that topic of teammates and fellow student athletes, what are some of your favorite parts about being a student athlete at the university?
You're in a constant, you're in this development, so you're around your teammates every day, day in, day out. And personally, I love that because I love finishing up a class at 3:30 and knowing that at 3:45 I'm going to be at the rink with all my other teammates, and just getting excited to see them again, even though it's only been 24 hours since you haven't been with them. And at times it gets a little bit tough and you want to have your own space, but in general, I'm just super excited to be with the team and to do stuff. And then after practices, to have maybe dinners together with a few of our friends, and or to go out and do activities, play mini golf, small things like that just make me happy and excited to get to the rink and to know that I've got 20 other players that are there for me, and just all around good time. And whether it's just inside jokes in the locker room or on the ice, it's just memories keep on getting created every day. So that's my favorite part, is definitely just being the team vibe.
And what about Montreal? What about being in this city? What really resonates with you and is special about Montreal that you've really enjoyed over the years?
I have to say we haven't been let's say able to go up and do that much stuff because our hockey season is pretty long, and it is just tiring, and it's a daily thing. You have practice every evening. You have 2 times a week. You got a game. So, but the city vibe to it, like the atmosphere, you know that everything, the city's kind of lively, and coming from a kind of a country village back in Switzerland, it's a good change, and I really enjoy it, and that also makes me grateful when I go back home to Switzerland and a bit more of a peaceful area. But I do have to say, like, the atmosphere, the livelihood, and knowing that the Montreal Canadiens play in this city too is also a big dream of mine, to go and see their games. So I've been able to do that a few times, and it's a special city. It brings a lot of atmosphere to it. So I'm really happy that I'm here.
So now, do you have a newfound attachment to the Habs, and really hoping that they get through this transitional period as quickly as possible?
Yeah, my dad's always been a Montreal Canadiens fan, and before I got to Montreal, I was a pretend fan, and I think I've learned to love them and hate them just as much, I think, as a lot of fans do here. And I wouldn't say I'm the most diehard fan of them, but I definitely do support them. And, I mean, whenever they're doing good, I guess. But it's a bit of a tougher, period right now. But making it to the playoffs, the finals, and seeing them do well, and then unfortunately not having such a great season, but having, great potential, I think, in players that they have, and it's always fun to see. But yeah, I'm trying to be more optimistic about the future for them.
What do you think about Cole Caulfield, obviously coming out of Wisconsin, fellow student athlete who just set the NCAA on fire, comes into the NHL, a lot of hype, a lot of pressure. Can you kind of feel for the guy who's had to go through such a massive spotlight stepping into the show?
So I want to say yes, but I don't think that his path as a student athlete and career as a student athlete is the same as ours as women, and I think that ties into the resources and the media coverage and the opportunities that we have as women to become a professional player and make millions like he is right now. And I'm astonished and really happy for him that he's made it this far, and that he's also been able to just absolutely blow up the NCAA goals and all the records that he's broken, and hear how he's making a name for himself. It's really inspiring. But I think that what's inspiring me is Marie-Philippe Poulin, Mélodie Daou, Sarah Fillier that are making their names for themselves, and also for our national team in Switzerland, girls that are really resilient within their own ways, and making it to the international level, and making it to the Olympics, and through tough situations where we don't have as much time and money and people that invest in us. So definitely inspiring, but as soon as we have girls who will be able to make it to the professional level and make a living out of it, I'll definitely idolize them a lot more.
Understood. I think that's fair. Female hockey is developing, and I think it's kind of a key phase now where hopefully more and more information, more resources, more support for the sport. And of course, being here in Canada and seeing the success the Canadian team just had at the Olympics, hopefully that just fuels the fire, right?
Of course.
Now seeing Caulfield, his success under Marty St. Louis, and knowing your love for coaching, what do you think about St. Louis, Lecavalier stepping in with the Habs now? Do you think it's great to see former players who've been through the ranks now stepping into these roles? Do you think that's going to influence the players in a good way?
Yeah, I think that, being a coach, you need to have an idea of what, players are going to be going through and have gone through. And I think that's super important. And, we're saying that firsthand with Caulfield and St. Louis, that St. Louis figured a way out to, maybe, captivate or help Caulfield in a certain way. And I think he's also going to be doing that for different players that are in the Habs right now. And I think that's so important as a coach to get a sense of your group and to know who you're working with, in order to find ways to reach to all of them. And it's a big job because, when you have a 25-man women roster, it's a lot of work to do. But as a coach, if you want to be successful, I think that you really have to have every person in your locker room totally buying into what you're thinking and what you're doing. And in order for that to happen, I think it's to be able to help them in different ways that suit them. So it's exactly what I really want to do in life, and to be a coach that can also, get a sense to how I have to make things work, and how do I have to talk to my players or reach out to them in order for them to, be at their best. It's pretty inspiring, and I hope that I'll be able to find my little magic potion to get that, Caulfield in my group.
Absolutely. Let's talk about the challenges as a student athlete at the University of Montreal. What have been some of the toughest things, or some of the obstacles that being a student athlete here presents? One thing that I'm going to throw out at you and ask, how difficult is time management? Between the games, the practices, hanging out with the group, your classes, everything on your plate. Is that a challenge?
Definitely the first year, it's a little bit overwhelming, and you don't really know how to handle yourself. And you have players around you who have done that for a few years, and I think that's really important, is to reach out to them and see kind of how they've been able to deal with certain situations. But once again, it's tying into having an idea of what your friends are doing, and then figuring out your formula, your recipe to how you're going to deal with stuff. And it's very different for everybody, and I'm just a person who likes to have my weeks organized and ready, and know what I have to do when during the week. And Obviously, it's going to happen where sometimes you're a little bit late on homework, or you're kind of stressed out because you have a game and a practice, but you have, an essay to do the morning of a game. But you kind of, you figure it out. And I think the first year obviously is a little bit overwhelming, but it goes by so quickly that you get into the hang of it pretty quickly. And a hockey season is super long, so you have time to, maybe get the first month under your belt and then get a sense for it. And then the second month, being a student athlete, is already a lot better. So I think it's just with time and a little bit of insides of, how do you get to class on time, and you're tired and you're sore from a gym workout, but how do you go to step up a few stairs to get to class? You get the hang of it. And I think in the end of the day, you just have to remind yourself that it's an honor to be able to be a student athlete, and it's so much fun, and you're so lucky to be in the spot that you are in as a student athlete, because not everybody has the chance to experience that, and a lot of people would love to do it. So just putting a little bit of perspective into that, and just figuring out, your recipe, how it works.
You seem like the type of person that would have a planner that just has smileys all over the place, exclamation points, and it's just the happiest, bubbliest agenda that anyone's ever seen.
Actually, fun fact is every school year we get an agenda from the university, and every school year I am determined to use it for a full year. I don't know if it goes past 2 weeks, honestly, and then I just have to keep on. I'm pretty good at, having things in my head. Okay, I have this and that to do, and I'm really organized in my head too, so that helps. But I always try and convince myself that I'm gonna go the agenda route once and go for it 100%. But after
it's
2
a work
3
in
weeks,
progress.
it's like it's in the bottom of my desk, and I don't even use it anymore. But
Understood. I think that's something that you'll gain a new appreciation for as your career continues to evolve. We'll call it a work in progress.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. Let's talk about your friendships here. Obviously, you mentioned how close you are with the girls and how excited you ladies are to get together and go through these experiences together. So have you made some friendships here that you feel are going to last well beyond your playing days and are going to be permanent and long-lasting for yourself, even after you finish up your hockey career?
Oh, for sure. That's not even a question. And I think that my personality and how I am also helps in that perspective. And I'm very bubbly, very sociable, and very outgoing, obviously, and that helps enormously with my friendships. But I think that sometimes it can be too superficial, and people think it's very superficial. But I definitely am genuine with the people that I have in my life and that I want to have in my life. And these past 5 years, just in Montreal, have been unbelievable. I've met so many new people, and still to this day, people who at my first year were seniors and graduating, I'm still in contact with, and I consider my close friends. So definitely see myself getting, after my, my university career, getting together with the same group of people from my first year. So for me, friendships are very important to me, and I value them a lot. And if I do have a friendship with somebody, it's going to last a long time, and at least I'm going to do everything in my power for it to happen. So it's just special, and obviously it makes it so much easier to spend 24/7 and get to know the person on a whole season. And like I said, sometimes it's good to have a little bit of a break and have your own little time, but I can't really go 2-3 days without seeing my friends because I get lonely and I get sad. So I like to see them as much as I can, but definitely people that are going to stay in my life for a long time.
It doesn't surprise me that you've got those close friendships because, genuine is absolutely a word that, we've talked about, but charismatic and excited and all the energy, it makes sense. So here's the question. Are you the person that makes the plans for the group, or are you the go with the flow kind of friend?
So I'm a very go with the flow, whatever makes people happy plans. But then when people don't make a decision and don't make a decision, then I'm like, okay, let's do something.
The vocal side comes back.
Yeah, but usually I'm like, I'm not choosing. I always, I'm a very vocal person, so I'm gonna let you guys choose. But sometimes it's absurd in how long it takes to make a plan. So I make a decision and then we go from there.
Some of the resources for those that look at playing university or college hockey, whether that's Canada or the United States, for example, they seem to lack some of the same information and resources that might be available on the male side. It makes it tougher because those are difficult decisions. That's a tough pathway to go through. Yeah. Is that something that you want your pathway to really help resonate with them and motivate and empower them to be able to go after and see that it is doable, but looking for maybe support and information as early as possible could help with it?
Yeah, of course, and I think that, with communication with friends, family, coaches especially, communicating with your coach and just kind of getting open-minded about all the opportunities you can have in front of you. And I was, going to the States, I had kind of one view, was to play NCAA college hockey, and I quickly realized that it wasn't the only option, and that, the recruiting process, for example, was another obstacle I had to face. Was a bit tough to get around when I was expecting to play the next year. So just opening your horizons and not being afraid to just look elsewhere too, and I think that's one thing that helped me, was to just have people around me that would help me get to different areas. But I really believe that if you have a dream to play, university hockey, college hockey, or even professional hockey, go for it. We need women who are gonna go into a hockey team and give it their all and give it their best, so that they can, keep on showing the world that women's hockey is definitely a sport to watch out for, and keep on investing in, and having people see that we're successful. And whether it's the Olympics with the Team Canada, who've done an amazing job so far, win that gold medal, I think that it's opened up a lot more eyes, and people hopefully will invest more and give us more time and money to make it our actual career. So I think that it all starts with women and girls starting and keep on going and having fun and working hard with it, because that's where we're going to be able to push as a collective group, push our women's hockey to become even better and stronger. So I would just really say follow your dreams and have fun doing it. And if we need girls who are going to play ice hockey, so just get into it and keep at it. So
what type of effect would you say the last 5 years have had on yourself, and how has it helped to shape who you are moving forward?
Yeah, it's been a pretty eventful 5 years, and like we said, being a student athlete, there's so much that comes with it: school, family, relationships, hockey, and I have an added, kind of added pressure. Was also national team and having to go back and miss finals and so on and so forth. So my first year was really overwhelming sometimes, and I wasn't quite sure how I was handling things, and also just how mature I was as a person might have also been a factor of I was being overwhelmed. So over these past 5 years, I've just been able to deal with situations in a much more calmer way, and I definitely am very vocal and very bubbly and outgoing, but my first year I was having a tough time being able to just relax and maybe think before speaking, or think before making a decision, or in those situations of pressure, like not maybe getting too overwhelmed. So the past 5 years, I think I've made a huge leap and a huge development and progression in how I handle certain maybe stressful situations. That's always been an obstacle for me, is not to get overwhelmed too quickly and not to get panicked too quickly either. So just being able to sit down, take a few deep breaths and make a decision, or then think of a solution then. And I would not have been able to do that without my family, my coaches, my teammates who have been there for me. So it's, once again, just being able to use people that are on my team and that are there for me to make a more rational and calmer decision. So that's how I definitely have developed and matured as a person.
Yeah, I think that's something pretty special about the experience, is just seeing your evolution and progression and going from where you were to now. But now let's go to a fun part to the 5 years, and we had to ask this, of course, right? Uh-oh. So I want to know the most embarrassing story from your time over the 5 years, leading up till now, spending your time at the university here. What's that one story that you're like, please don't ask, please don't ask?
I have to say, this is on the hockey side of things, and I think it was my second year here. So I'm very bubbly. Everybody knows I'm having a good laugh and stuff. But when it gets on the rink, I like to be hardworking. I'm always up in people's faces and everything. But it was a situation that literally the puck was getting rimmed on the boards, and nobody was forechecking me. All right, and it was in our defensive zone, and I was a winger, and so I was trying to curl into the puck, and my stick decided to be best friends with the boards, and it got stuck in the boards, and my stick literally jolted up into my rib cage, and nobody was on me, so it looked as if my hockey stick had given me like an electro shock, and I just kind of like flew up, and my legs just went up in the sky, and I fell right on my butt. And now the ref had to like whistle because I was on the floor. I was actually in pain, but I was laughing my butt off, and I was in tears. So my physio, when she came on the ice to say like, "Hey, Kels, are you okay?" I was so embarrassed at that moment because I knew that nobody was around me. I was me and the puck and the boards won that battle. So that was an absolute embarrassment, and it's just a running joke, and I'm really happy that it is a running joke, and it's made the highlight reels of our bloopers series a few times, and every year new players come in, and every year for some reason that story gets told and gets shown to our whole team. So I'm happy it's a running joke in our team, but that was definitely an embarrassing moment.
Did you frame the stick? Did you keep it?
No, I don't know. I think it might have broken, to be honest with you. But
you broke it right then, got rid of it as quick as you possibly could.
Exactly. My rib cage also thought I got broken into, so it was funny. But looking back at the video, I was so embarrassed. It was insane.
I think everybody's got one of those stories. I'm pretty sure everybody playing street hockey jammed their stick into a curb at some point.
I hope so. That would make me feel a little bit better about myself.
That's incredible. So now let's go to the other side of the coin. Let's talk about your best moment from your time here at the University of Montreal, on or off the ice. What was one of your favorites?
It's a tough one. My best moment, I think I have to say, was definitely beating Concordia 2 years ago as a team and being an underdog. We were ranked number 4. They were ranked number 1, and just a whole collective battle with all of our girls on our team, just coming together for the same goal and seeing that we upset them. It was just unbelievable, and we were all part of that victory, every one of us, and just seeing the celebration that we had was insane, and it was on their rink. So we were just like blown away by the game that we had just had, and we came together, and it was such a tight game, and praise to Concordia for the season that they had. And not one moment did we doubt ourselves of our capabilities of winning that game, and I think that just truly showed the hockey world and especially our conference and whoever was doubting us how we might not have been the better team on paper, but because we came together as a group and we all fought for each other, it was just unbelievable. That feeling was incredible, and I still have goosebumps thinking about it, but that was a special moment for sure.
That's amazing. And one thing I noticed yesterday watching the game and seeing you in action, you're the type of teammate that really wants everybody to be involved and engaged, and you're going around, you always tap your goalie on the pads, you tap players on the shin pads, you're constantly making sure everybody's involved. So I can see how the leadership characteristics, they carry over, and then a win like that as a special moment. I have a feeling you're probably leading the celebration and making sure everybody's having a good time.
Yeah, of course. You got to keep things light as well. But I do that because I have also been on the other side of things where maybe you don't play less. I've been in situations in my life that I maybe have been a player that with, maybe less ice time or less situations of play. And so I understand players who are going through that, but I also know the importance of every player on the bench and in the stands. And if we're not all working for the same goal, no matter who you are and what role you have in a team, then we won't be successful. So it's always just trying to, make people aware that no matter what your ice time is, no matter what situation you're playing in, or how important you feel to a team, you are very important to the team if you're on that team. And there's a reason why our coach recruits players, is because she feels like as a collective group, we can be better than anybody else. So it's just, keeping things light and keeping everybody engaged and concentrated and focused on the game, but also believing in themselves. And at times it can be tough, obviously, and I've been there. But it's just to be the best teammate I can be, so that everybody knows that they're definitely valued in a team.
That's excellent. Other student athletes that are preparing to play university hockey, you mentioned the young team, obviously new recruits that are going to be coming in. What advice could you give them to help prepare for university hockey and some of the challenges and obstacles that they're going to face?
So a quote that I really love is control what you can control. And that's also something that I've really learned and I've believed in since the start, but have had a tough time, I guess, maybe really buying into that quote since day one. But I actually have a tattoo of it on the back of my arm, and I really stand firmly in that position where you have to do whatever you can do to make yourself, and put yourself in the best position and to make yourself, maybe successful. But don't spend too much time thinking about what ifs or other people or, coach decisions or so on and so forth. It goes on obviously in the hockey world, and any athlete has a tough time with that. But I'm still trying to get better at that too, and it's tough. But I think that as the earlier on you really try and make things, you control things that you can control, you're gonna have an easier time along the way. And so I think that would be my advice number one to any student athlete, is just work hard, have fun, but control what you can control and do the best of what you can do at that moment, and good things will happen for sure.
Yeah, it's the tricky part of the hockey world is players become very, very focused on everything that's going on around them. And the reality is there's other human beings involved. There's other people whose thoughts and decisions play a factor in how your career plays out. And that's difficult to understand and be able to handle and just focus on, okay, I'm not going to be able to influence the mind of someone else. So all I can do is look after my piece to it.
Exactly.
Right?
And I think that, good things happen to good people too. So that's also something that I believe in. And it's tough at times, but things change really quickly, especially in the sporting world. And injuries can happen, or just changes of anything can happen. So it's always being ready and just, giving your best effort, your best effort, and not evaluating your effort compared to someone else's, because it's a totally different story. And, doing whatever you can do in the gym and on the ice, off the ice, as a teammate, as a student, as a family member or a friend. So just really, I think it's bigger than hockey too. So it comes up to a lot more values, and just having fun with that, and just controlling what you can control.
I love that. I think that's something that, especially for young student athletes, it's great to learn when you're a teenager, and it carries over all the way through life. So I think that's extremely important to share. I got another fun question for you.
Uh-oh.
Have you ever met a hockey player that you went completely fan crazy about, and it was just a blast to meet them?
Yeah, I have to say it was meeting Patrick Kane during their lockout in the NHL, and they all these amazing NHL players came to Switzerland, like Tyler Seguin, Matt Duchene, Patrick Kane was one of them, and Patrice Bergeron too. So meeting Patrick Kane and seeing how small he was, but just then seeing him on the ice 10 minutes later, and him like dangling these guys and shooting and just making a huge impact on, in such a short amount of time, was unbelievable. And that made me even become a bigger fangirl, and to this day is a player that I really admire. So definitely meeting Patrick Kane was kind of a cool moment, and I was like, whoa, okay, he's like as big as me, and he's he's making millions, and he's really good at what he does. So that was a kind of a cool moment for me.
What do you think is the best part about Patrick Kane's game?
His stick handling is phenomenal, and just I think how he reads the game, but how he can, just be aware of the puck that's on his stick at all times without even looking at it one single second, and making plays is just unbelievable. So everything hand-eye, his whole game is truly unbelievable, but stick handling and the vision of his game is phenomenal.
Yeah, there's not too many players that their stick handling and their deking, especially when you watch his shootout moves.
Exactly.
It's unfathomable what he can do with the puck, right?
Exactly.
And then his backhand, he comes in down the right-hand side, and you know that he can take a backhand from the goal line and put it in a corner.
Exactly. And then just, seeing that he's I feel like he's an underrated player to this day, and, just seeing that he still is doing amazing things is just, I hope there's still true fans that are still out there that are, obviously backing him up, but it's just unbelievable. And to be able to meet him at that moment when I was, starting off my real career as a hockey player was kind of cool.
Yeah, it hits home a little bit with myself because the Blackhawks just took the Oilers out of the wild card round, a little bit back. So, Patrick Kane hits a bit of a sensitive spot, but
it's okay.
We'll let you have
next time, McDavid.
Let's hope so. So talking about NHL players, and not necessarily, an NHL player, but who would you say you model your game after? You talked about, your work ethic, your compete, how sometimes you make up for maybe less skill in certain situations or at various age groups. by having that crazy compete level and work ethic. So who do you really look up to in terms of modeling your game?
Well, I have to say I look up to Melody Daou. She's number 15 for Team Canada, and skill set not the same. So I'm not saying that I'm as good as her, but I'm definitely saying that I try and take after her in terms of work ethic and just precision to detail and just having fun with the game. And I am lucky enough to have been able to be around her for a few years now, because she was one of our assistant coaches for the University of Montreal, and she has taught me so much and taught us so much as a team in so little time. And she's a really busy woman, especially with Team Canada, and before the Olympics she had to be everywhere every month. So just the amount of time, the small amount of time that we had with her was unbelievable, and the amount that we have learned and just kind of been able to feed off of her is phenomenal. And I was able to, just learn small little things that really helped my game in terms of like where I put my puck, or how I protect it, shooting, like just these things that you don't think that make a difference, but when you apply them to your game, change and just make you that much faster than your opponent. So just being around her and being able to learn and then play against her is just absolutely unbelievable, and I'm truly grateful that she's taught me so much.
Perfect.
Despite being an opponent during games, so I was trying to use some of her skill sets against her.
Absolutely.
It didn't really work.
So looking at another fun question, 2022 season here, we were just talking about the NHL situation and the Oilers and how we're praying the Oilers start to turn things around and win a bunch of games. Who wins the Stanley Cup this year?
That's a tough one. Oh boy. So, yikes, really tough question.
And this is recorded, so now it's going to be held against you in case it doesn't pan out, right?
Honestly, this year I feel like it's pretty up in the air, kind of crazy in terms of like Florida having a great season, which kind of is unusual. Toronto Maple Leafs having a so-so season, but having an amazing roster, which is always something that's kind of up there. And I always wish it's a Canadian team that will win it, because I feel like it's been a while and we need that for Canadian hockey. Obviously Toronto, I wish that they go pretty far down the road, and I would say Montreal Canadiens, but they're really out of the run, unfortunately. But I think that who would win? Let me just go for Toronto. And then, yeah.
Really?
I'm a big Marner fan, I have to say, and his skill set is unbelievable. But I really hope the Canadian team will win, and if it has to be Toronto, then it will be Toronto.
Yeah, I think that's every Canadian fan, is once their team gets knocked out or doesn't even make the playoffs, we just go, okay, who do we got left, and let's really hope it falls the right way.
But who do you think is going to win that?
I think Carolina's a very deep team. And
Yikes.
I watched the Metro close because obviously the Washington Capitals and Ovechkin, as you know.
Of course.
But watching Carolina kind of bloom over this last 3-4 years, they've got the character guys, they've got the depth, they're good all the way through their lineup. I think the one concern is in the net. It always has been. So they can score goals, but can they keep about? This year it looks like it. So I'm gonna take the Hurricanes.
Well, it's okay. I'll follow you. There's a Swiss player in there, so. Need a rider, so if a Swiss guy has to bring back the Stanley Cup, then it's fine.
There you go. Moving on.